Welcome everyone. The Sandbox jump through the cryptocurrency, NFT, and games stages using its innovative virtual land sales concept. Let's welcome Mr. Auyang, Group President of Animoca Brands, to share their unique investment philosophy. Welcome, Evan.
Thank you very much, Roy. I'm very happy to be here. I suppose I should share my screen. Can everyone see this? I presume it's a yes. So again, I'm happy to be here to talk about Animoca Brands and what we do. Before I begin, I just want to get into a bit about the basics of what we see is happening to the internet space. So we are moving from originally in the 90s, in the internet Web 1.0 into Web 2.0, which is sort of past 15 years or so, and then now Web 3.0, which is really dominated by what we're seeing today with NFTs and cryptocurrencies, right? So the thing to remember about how we've evolved over time, starting from Netscape and Yahoo, was that we're talking about just reading, about overall research, sort of passive information, right? Web 2.0 is really enabled by the mobile age, where we're talking about reading and composing, right? So everybody can publish. We're talking about platforms. We're talking about data. We're talking about mobile, and it's still centralized, right? Now, when we talk about Web 3.0, it's really about reading, writing, and owning, right? So that's sort of the most important thing. And within that, you would see that within that, the medium is really about virtual economies. It's about the blockchain cloud, that is the infrastructure rather than sort of mobile and personal computers. And we're talking about decentralized control. And those are very important concepts. What the blockchain enabled, what it really does enable, as opposed to what we have seen in Web 1.0 and 2.0, is really about ownership, right? So with respect to decentralized ledger, which is unhackable and mutable, you are able to then own virtual assets. And within that, then the whole space changes, because it allows you to own the virtual assets, and therefore becomes tradable, composable, interoperable, et cetera, which I'll go a little bit into. So what it then does is that rather than sort of what we've seen as information, and when I was younger, we were talking about copying text or floppy disk and things like that, like copying games, going to game stores and like Shamshui and places like that. And it seems like there are no IP rights, right? Now we're talking about Internet of Value enabled by the blockchain, because it is about a piece of digital property that you own. Under the blockchain is secure, is unchangeable. Therefore, it enables what we call the Internet of Value overall. So what it is in terms of Web 3.0 is that it is a open, trustless, and permissionless system where we're talking about open source software. We don't need trust, because there's no trustless doesn't mean that you don't need trust. Sorry, it's really about, because it is unhackable and decentralized, you do not need any trusted party in between, right? Therefore, there's no risk of a platform changing rules. There's no risk of sort of like, all of a sudden, anything being unclear about whether or not a transaction will go through or not go through, whether you can trust the system or not, because it is actually in and of itself, it's unhackable. And also it's permissionless in the sense that, the rules are not actually created by the platform itself, not even the asset itself, because it's actually created on the blockchain. So, and it's important to talk about NFT in the concept of sort of what happened in the crypto markets, right? So we do have to differentiate fungible assets with non-fungible, fungible being Bitcoin, Ethereum, et cetera, where it's divisible. But NFTs are obviously not cryptocurrencies, and they're indivisible because each one of them are unique, right? And what it really does is that there's a layer that you'll go through in purchasing NFTs with its own token or Ethereum or whatever. Of course, you can also purchase directly with fiat money as well. But the example we're showing here is sort of CryptoKitties, right? It's sort of one of the first cases that you see, indivisible, unique, and therefore people actually really, at the time when it was launched in 2017, a lot of people actually want to own it. And sort of that's the beginning of the whole NFT phenomenon as we see today. And what it means overall is when you own true digital assets, it means that it's freely composable. So in a car that you can purchase, for instance, in our RAF Motorsports game that under Animoca that we've developed, you can change whatever you want on there, right? The color, the wheels, whatever. It's not, you don't need our permission to do that. You can put it in a marketplace to sell. It is authentic. It is blockchain based. And so that composability is what allows participants and gamers to really treat this assets like a physical asset, right? So if you're buying your own car, obviously you can do all this stuff yourself, right? But in the physical world, in the virtual world, within the gaming ecosystem, you really can't change stuff within the rules, outside of the rules of the platform, right? So as a gamer myself, all my life pretty much, I have always, understood the value of sort of what this means, right? What can I do with this? Can I free compose it? Can I recode it? Obviously you cannot, because it is within the rules of the platform and with a game company that allows you or not allow you to do that. But this changes everything. When you truly own it, you can do whatever you want with it, right? Because it's your property. Now, then it goes into interoperability, right? So in the traditional closed loop model on the left side that we see, it is about the talk about siloed databases. The assets are native to its own ecosystem, and therefore it cannot be taken out, right? They are not interoperable per se, right? In the blockchain decentralized network, because you do own it and it's immutable, it is forever, you can actually take this the asset out, for instance, a sword, a car, whatever, and translate it into other games, right? Now, obviously, there has to be a translator of some kind, a tool of some kind that allows interoperability, right? But in terms of what we do in Animoca Brands, that's what we're focused on, because what we want to do is that to ensure that all these logos around me are sort of the portfolio companies that we have. We take a very focused approach in making our assets interoperable. So for instance, if you bought a car within the RAF ecosystem, a bar, motorcycle, whatever it is that you purchase, we're making sure that if you are taking the sandbox, for example, there's a translation for it into voxel, right? So you can use those assets. Of course, the utility will be translated as well. But the key premise is that once you own it, you can take it to whatever it is you want. That makes it very, very powerful, because we cannot tell you as Animoca Brands, even with RAF ecosystem, we cannot tell you that you cannot do something. It is permissionless. And after I talk about all this, then it's sort of important to talk about what is Animoca Brands. Obviously, recently we've been under the media spotlight a little bit. We are a fast-growing company. We're the fastest growing companies within 2021. We've won several awards, and we're continuing our journey with the support of many of our supporters and funders. And we have just announced a couple of days ago that we closed our most recent round at $5 billion pre-money, actually 5.4 to be totally accurate about it. And we have quite a few brand name investors involved in this, and we'll continue to use the proceeds to grow our story and our organization. We are a global company. We're headquartered in Hong Kong. It's a place that we call home. Yat, the co-founder, and myself, we're from Hong Kong. Obviously, we are committed to this location, but we see ourselves as a global company. We have various business units as well. The leading one that we actually see that's gaining a lot of attention is the Sandbox, because it's sort of the most mature one. We've worked with the company for a long period of time, but there's also Gamey, Arc8, which is getting more and more popular. That's hyper casual gaming. Quit is collectibles. Ref is racing, and what is this? This is Bondly's infrastructure. Blowfish is the AAA science fiction. Enway is AAA. Pixel is about building games like kids games, etc. Tower for crazy defense heroes, and then Limpo is sports. So those are the key business units that we either majority own, or we own or we have 100% share. in terms of what we do, and people ask a lot about this, what do you actually do? Sometimes Animoca feels like it's an investor alone, but we actually do three things. In business, we actually operate as well. So again, the logos around me are sort of the companies that we operate, the portfolio companies. So for gaming assets, we obviously turn them into tokenize them, turn them into NFTs, and then we would operate them accordingly. On the right side, there is our portfolio, right? So we've made about 150 investments or so. Actually, we made probably half of them in the last 6 to 9 months because of the deal making that's going on. And we invest along the entire ecosystem of what we see as ecosystem investments to spur along the Web3 space, right? So we want to deploy our capital to make others grow so that this space can grow as well. And we would then also innovate, meaning that we would develop capabilities for the know-how that we have, so we can focus a bit on deploying capital and actually putting the blockchain brain into the portfolio companies, the companies that we work with, even on the right side as our investee companies, in terms of tokenomics, of design, community development, token launches, asset launches, asset sales, etc., so that we further the space along. So that's sort of in a nutshell what we do. So yeah, it's important to talk about our purpose, because obviously one of the things that is good about a company is its financial performance in terms of the funding we're able to raise. But that to us sometimes can be a distraction, because the purpose is what matters to us the most. So a couple of things, right? First is really to talk about building an open Web3 ecosystem. Open system as opposed to closed one in walled gardens. I'll talk about that a little bit more. We want to positively transform how our next generation live and work. A lot of our kids, the younger generation, live themselves in the online world, right? Both boys and girls, as opposed to my generation, when mostly boys are playing games. Now everyone is online and spending meaningful time on it. And by the way, how do we build this, space beyond entertainment? It's really about the whole play to earn concept that we're actually now enabling via digital asset ownership. Because if we're rewarding this, if you're true to digital asset ownership, you could actually create meaningful jobs living and working in the metaverse. Because this time that you spent in, let's say, painting a house in Roblox, you might as well actually spend time painting a house or building a house in a sandbox, because you'll be rewarded for the time via play to earn, right? So we believe that real jobs can be created within that metaverse. Indeed, it has already happened. And then there's also delivery of shared value that we believe. Ultimately, delivering shareholder return is important, but it is a result of us being able to deliver community and social value. So we truly believe that what we're building here is something that is meaningful. It's not just for shareholders. It is really about furthering communities. It's really about focusing on the virtual world, the metaverse, and the participants to really create value for them. And in turn, that facilitation will reward us with some sort of financial reward. So the company itself does not talk about, oh, when we do this and we'll have more revenue, and oh, we do this, then we'll have more profit. We only focus on, this is how we build communities. And when you build communities, you'll be rewarded with the rewards of what you're supposed to do by facilitating, right? So we believe a bigger pie is better. So we don't want to monopolize. It's not what we focus on. And we obviously want to do the above in a sustainable manner. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about data and the rise of monopolies, because in the past, sort of in the Web 2.0 age, the economists have seen the most valuable resource of like putting data there. So the most valuable companies right now are data companies, and they've become very monopolistic, because the data that you actually, each of us create, are mined for free, and then they turn back to you in terms of goods and services. You could believe that these are valuable, but then they are all along the rules of the platform, and they can be changed, and you could be manipulated as well in terms of like steering votes and sort of censorship and all that stuff is actually happening today. That's the world that we see are closed and walled gardens, and we want to see that Web 3.0 actually has a change for this. And if you sort of look at some of the most hated big technology brands, you can have sort of like, this is not done by us, it's got like done by a third party, Rave. They did a survey, and you can sort of see many of familiar names, large names in technology companies that are actually not very trusted because of their monopolistic powers. So we believe that with Web3, we can move beyond that. And as you folks might know, everybody is talking about a metaverse right now. And Facebook itself changed its name to Meta, and it's sort of like the future vision for the internet, et cetera. Microsoft made a big purchase of Activision Blizzard days ago. Microsoft itself has announced plans for it, Roblox, Fortnite, all metaverse. But I just want to make sure that we understand what this is and how this is different from how Animoca sees Web 3.0. This isn't Web 3.0 in the metaverse that Facebook is wanting to create. They have a sense of a virtual reality-based, high fidelity, kind of an enclosed universe that they want to focus on building, which can be a version of the metaverse, but it's not the version that we see, because ultimately there are 5 things that are different, right? So the platform is really about its own rules, right? Facebook's rules. The ownership is really Facebook, right? As opposed to everyone else that you, as asset owners, you own. The composability is within Facebook's rules rather than freely composable. Interoperability is unlikely. You can take anything out of Facebook. Tradability, maybe, but also within Facebook. So these things are very different when you talk about true digital asset ownership, where the platform is owned by everyone. Ownership is really, to the asset owners. Composability, really free, composable, interoperable, and tradable. It's very different, right? And so we're really about the true digital property rights. We talk about secure and mutable, tradable, interoperable. Those are important things, right? And why do we begin with games? Right? Obviously, Animoca has a gaming DNA. We believe that gamers actually understand cryptocurrency, understand non-fungible tokens and assets and digital assets. And it's a huge economy itself, right? So it's 180 billion, and it's growing, right? And if you look at sort of the current model of gaming, right? So it's sort of like about in-app purchases, subscriptions, right? Advertising. Those are some of the business models that you see in the yesteryears or even currently. But when you talk about blockchain gaming, you're talking about new revenue streams, right? Which is sales of digital assets like items, lands, right? The tokens that we sell. And then what we then do is that based on volumes of the digital items that get traded in secondary markets, then you have recurring blockchain revenues, right? So all we really need to do is to facilitate building of these economies, right? So each one of these games or metaverses behind me are game economies, because they are actually not just games, right? They are what participants live and built by, right? And with that, then you have tradability, you have facilitation of the economy with the sort of like, inject liquidity to support the economy here, and then build it there and build content and listen to what the participants want to do. So it becomes a new business model altogether. Just the last couple of slides here. So we're creating a community via play to earn, which is the crux of what we do. So in terms of what some folks have posted, this person is from Australia. He makes up to 3,900 a week racing cars with Australian dollars in the blockchain game. And the first down payment of his house was actually made via playing our games, right? So it's pretty amazing. And also in terms of some of the places in sort of more developing economies, like in the Philippines, people are actually earning more than minimum wage, right? And in some parts of Philippines, they have more crypto wallets than credit cards, right? Which is really amazing to tell you, since the lockdown, how many people have found that this play to earn space and the blockchain gaming has really taken their economies and their livelihoods by storm. You can obviously own a piece of the metaverse via Sandbox as one of the examples. So some celebrities have done that. And there are only 166,000 lands available. There will not be any more created. and they're a very hot commodity at this moment. And given we're from Hong Kong, we're a Hong Kong company, we are focused on Hong Kong. So, we have just launched a megacity. There'll be phase 2 of megacity. So there's a block of land and sandbox that's really around that. There's a South China Morning Post there. Adrian Chang's New World is there. Song Kai is there, and along other celebrities and other investors as well. And finally, I just want to say that, we don't only do sandboxes, our only thing. And if you have not kept up with your Discord, you should look at Phantom Galaxy. It is one of these games that we believe are very hot at the moment. The alpha has been launched, and NFTs have been dropped. It's a closed alpha, so but follow the Discord and take a look at this game. It is a AAA game. And I'll end here.
Thank you, Evan. Very detailed, very insightful. Definitely, I'm going to talk to you about more coming up next. We will have a panel discussion, which Evan will join us, focusing on winning formula in metaverse investment. Join us now.